Okay, so I came across this video called "The Man Who Believes You Can't See in 4K," and one issue I had with it was not not the fact that he's calling the other guy wrong or that he's wrong. It's kind of the logic behind how he explains everything. And you're probably like, well, what are you talking about? Okay, well, I'll try and point out some specific spots here, but basically, he's covering a rebuttal video somebody else made where he's talking about how you can see in 4K and how the guy, even though the guy made a lot of valid points, the guy channel's called Knowing Better. This dude, who I believe his name is the Bearded Wonder, this dude says, "Well, you're wrong, even though you made valid points, you're wrong." But he misses on a lot of points that really hurt his argument, and he says that the other guy, well, I can't remember the other guy's name, but he says the other guy did it, but he's gonna do it better. I don't agree. Let's just watch some clips of it.
Unfortunately, I got busy with life, and honestly, I just forgot about it. And a few weeks ago, I saw a video by Bullet Berry rebutting this same video show up in my feed on YouTube. I almost didn't do this video because I didn't want to just straight up copy him, but then I realized that I could just do a better job. Don't worry, Barry, you're still a good boy. So
Remember, he's saying he could do a better job. I disagree.
as I said, a channel called Knowing Better, and I'll try my best not to make many jokes about the irony of his name, made a video about 4K and how humans can't perceive 4K. Yeah. And it gets worse too, because he talks about frame rate as well. But before we start his video, I would like to point out the date he made his video. September 3rd, 2017. The Xbox One X was released in November of 2017, and at that time there was a lot of discussion on the subject of 4K. This is not a coincidence. Roll the film.
Okay, I'd like to point out that he kind of mocks the Knowing Better's intro with the metal fork in the outlet and the burner on the hand on the hot burner, stove burner, whatever. I don't think he's understanding it's mocking, he's like, knowing better, you should know better, common sense. He even points it out that these things are common sense. He's making a mockery of it. That's what he's doing. Bearded Warrior, whatever his name is, obviously isn't getting that Knowing Better is making a mockery with this intro. It's supposed to be kind of funny. It's like, oh, you know better than to put your hand on a hot burner. Okay, so -1 already for lack of humor. Because cooks explode.
In the beginning of this video, because he talks a lot about the history of resolutions, and he's not that wrong about a lot of stuff, and honestly it's just not worth covering. But I did want to point out his intro because it was dumb. So his channel's name is Knowing Better, and then his intro is putting a fork and putting a metal fork into a power socket, putting your hand up against a burner, putting Windex directly onto a TV screen.
See what I mean? He's just mocking somebody trying to be funny, which I get it. You're trying to do it for the purpose of the video. You're discrediting the other guy because of their intro, but come on, dude. This is how you want to start your argument? Whatever. Anyway, I'm going to skip because there's a point he actually brings up that I think is very relevant, and If I can find the exact times, I will try to get as close to it as possible, but just follow me here.
Those specific frame rates of 59.94 and 29.97 frames per second exist, and we round up because it's easier. Thank you, Filmmaker IQ, for this video, which was only one short Google search away to answering my question.
He never addressed the question, but he brings up a point, being one short Google away. Google result. The resolution of the human eye, according to Dr. Roger Clark, is approximately 576 million megapixels. Well, what does that mean? Like, probably some of you asking. But if you scroll down a little bit to here, how many megapixels is 4K resolution? 4K is a little less than 9 megapixels. Here, I'll highlight it for you. Let's do a little math. I mean, I've already got the math, but let's do a little math of what 4K is compared to human eye. 9 divided by 4, 7, 6. So 4K is 0.016 the resolution of the human eye. So humans can see, at least in the resolution standpoint, of 4K. That's all he had to say. That was the end of the argument. Just do that. You want to talk about doing a simple Google search? I'm on Google and the answer is right there. Now, granted, I am a huge critic of Google. Ugh, I can't talk. I am a huge critic of Google because a lot of times they like to post things that aren't exactly true. Go like words, definitional words that go against the actual definitions you'll find in like the Oxford or Merriam-Webster. But most of the time, they'll post something that's more along the lines of factual. Don't always trust Google, is what I'm saying. Be skeptical. But for the sake of this argument, or if we're going to believe that what Google says is right, nine megapixels versus 576 megapixels. That was the end of the video. Why didn't he just stop there and say, "You're wrong, dude. You're wrong. The average human eye is like 8 times the resolution." 8 times? 80 times? 80 times. Forgive my math. You know what I'm saying. The human eye is far better. And that's only at a viewing angle of 120 degrees. Anyway, let's move on from this point.
Just saying that research is pretty easy on the subject.
Now,
Obviously not.
Doesn't really see in frames. You see pretty much continuously, but beyond a certain speed, things can move too fast for you to notice. Now,
He's not wrong here.
Source at rest that seems to be about 45 to 72 frames per second. Let's go with 72. That means just sitting there on your couch eating Doritos. If something appears on screen for 1/72nd of a second, odds are you'll miss it, unless you know where to look and you're waiting for it. That's at rest though. Your perceived frame rate changes with your arousal level. If you just went for a run or are being chased by a
Did you catch that, Gigi? Sex pun, and we get it.
dinosaur, or more likely you're hopped up on caffeine, you can see up to 120 frames per second. And if you're a superhuman or a fighter pilot, or you're on cocaine or something, you might be able to see up to 240, but no one has been able to reliably do it beyond that.
Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be using videos from other people to help prove my point. So
That is actually a terrible way to argue. Using other people to prove your point. And let me specify. I don't mean like experts and people who've done extensive studies and research. I'm just saying, using other YouTube videos by other YouTubers, some of them are game journalists, which, as we all know, journalists aren't exactly the most credible, but using other game journalists and other YouTubers who aren't exactly experts or accredited scholars in the field of technology and by any means is not a valid way to argue. And I say this all the time, but you always be skeptical of what people say. And that college degrees aren't exactly a end-all means of expertise in something. You're not a master just because you have a college degree. It just means you have a piece of paper. But at the same time, this guy is using other people's YouTube channels and not using actual sources of studies and research and things like that. Besides, using the argument of mass opinion is a terrible, terrible way to defeat logic, anybody else's logic. It's been shown throughout history that even in the science community, the majority opinion isn't always the correct opinion. In fact, it could be actually a detriment opinion to society. Like, for instance, gasoline. 80 years ago, 90 years ago, there was this huge debate over lead being in gasoline and how harmful it is into the environment. And we had a handful, small team of scientists that proved that the majority of the science community and the government was wrong. So just pointing that out, sometimes having the more popular opinion doesn't make you right.
So I apologize if you don't like that, but it's more of just showing that other people agree with me. And there are a lot of people that are just smarter than me on the subject and have actual hands-on experience on the subject. For instance, I don't have a 240 hertz monitor. I have a 144 hertz monitor by Acer, and it's a 1440p monitor. I've absolutely loved it. Switching from 60 hertz to 144 hertz was just a drastic change. I cannot play at 60 hertz now. And I was curious if the same change would be happening to the switch from 144 hertz to 240 hertz. And I was curious if humans can perceive this difference and notice a change.
With over 18 years playing Quake, I've used a lot of different monitors, including the odd CRTs, and now we have 240Hz panels. To answer the main question, yes, I can tell the difference between 240 and 144Hz. 240 is definitely smoother, it's awesome, but...
Okay, and this will be my last point, is that just because you can tell a difference doesn't mean you quite understand what you're seeing. Yeah, you get that smoothness from the faster frame rate because more frames are being shown in the same amount of time, which means you don't get that stutterness, meaning your eye cannot actually perceive the difference in the different frames happening one by one. That's why 30 looks so much worse and you get that stuttering effect because you're actually able to pick up the individual frames a lot better because it's 30 frames, which means each frame has a little bit more time to be shown versus all the multiples that go on at a 240 hertz. Okay, and that's just what I wanted to touch on in this video, is that this guy doesn't exactly hit a lot of key points in his argument, and he makes a lot of bad points in his argument when trying to defeat somebody else. I'm not saying he's wrong in a lot of points. I'm just saying he didn't do a good job, at least not in my opinion. But then again, arguing is kind of my hobby. So, anyway, this was just a quick video I wanted to do tonight. My name is John X from the Oxymorons, and I'll catch you later. As I, go to turn off my recording. I love that 3D effect. Look at that 3D effect. That image in the image, that mirror, whatever you call it, infinity mirror. Fucking awesome. Alright, later.